In the scorching deserts of ancient Arabia, a silence hung heavy over the sand dunes. But beneath that silence, a dark custom was tearing families apart. It was a tradition so cruel, so heartless, so unimaginable that even today, when we hear it, our hearts tremble. It was the tradition of burying daughters alive. Yes, in the days before Islam, before the light of the Quran, before the mercy of the Prophet, Arab tribes lived in ignorance, known as Jahiliyyah, the Age of Darkness. They worshipped idols made of stone and wood. They fought endless wars over pride and honor. And worst of all, they believed daughters were a burden. A newborn girl was not seen as a blessing. She was not embraced with joy. She was not kissed with love. Instead, she was feared. She was hated. She was seen as shame. A father's heart would sink when told thee, "It is a girl." In that society, strength was measured by sons. Sons who would grow into warriors. Sons who would fight in battles. Sons who would carry the tribe's name forward. But daughters, they were seen as weak, as powerless, as a disgrace. Some fathers feared their daughters would one day be captured by enemies, and in their twisted pride, they thought better to bury her alive than to live with dishonor. Imagine this scene: a father holds his newborn baby girl in his arms. Her tiny eyes blink, searching for love. Her small fingers curl, longing for comfort. She cries out, helpless, innocent, pure. But instead of protection, she faces betrayal. The father digs a hole in the desert sand. The scorching heat burns his skin. His heart pounds with conflict, but the poison of culture blinds him. He places his daughter inside the pit. Her cries grow louder. Her tiny hands reach upward, as if begging, "Father, please don't leave me." But he turns away. With trembling hands, he begins covering her with sand. Grain by grain, her cries weaken. Her hands disappear. Her voice fades until silence. A silence more painful than 1,000 swords. This was the fate of countless baby girls in pre-Islamic Arabia. A crime that society accepted. A cruelty they called honor. And the Quran would later describe this scene with chilling words. And when the baby girl who was buried alive is asked for what sin she was killed, Surah Taqwir 81899, every grain of sand, every muffled cry, every broken soul was seen by Allah, and the day of judgment would bear witness. But in those days the Arabs did not see. They lived blind in ignorance. They celebrated sons with drums and feasts, but they mourned daughters with tears and blood. This was the world before the coming of Islam. This was the darkness before the light. And then a man was born in Mecca, a man whose life would change history forever, a man sent with mercy, compassion, and justice. Muhammad Aif. From his earliest years, he was different from his people. While others bowed to idols, he looked to the heavens. While others drowned in pride, he walked with humility. While others buried their daughters, he would one day teach, "Whoever raises 2 daughters with kindness until they grow up, he and I will be together like this in paradise." And he raised his fingers together. But that moment was yet to come. For now, Arabia was still drowning in cruelty. And young Muhammad A was growing in a land of shadows, unaware that one day he would bring a dawn that would shatter those shadows forever. Darkness had covered Arabia for centuries. The cries of buried daughters still echoed in the sands. But the time had come for a light to rise. The time had come for mercy to descend from the heavens. The time had come for Islam. When Muhammad A reached the age of 40, he would hear the first words of revelation, read in the name of your Lord who created. These words shook the mountains. They shook the world of idols and ignorance. They shook the hearts of men and women everywhere. And from that moment, the mission of Islam began, a mission to destroy injustice, a mission to bring equality, a mission to end cruelty. Step by step, the Quran began exposing the evils of the Arabs. And one of the darkest evils was the burying of baby girls. Listen to how Allah revealed their crime. And when the female infant buried alive is asked for what sin she was killed, Surah Taqwir 81899, these verses thundered across the desert. Every father who had once buried his daughter felt his heart tremble. On the day of judgment, Allah himself would question them. The babies who once cried under the sand would now speak. They would ask, "What crime did we commit?" The answer would be none. No crime, no sin, only innocence. But the guilt would crush the oppressors. The Quran struck deep. It exposed their cruelty as cowardice. It revealed their honor as shameful. It showed that true strength was not in killing the weak, but in protecting them. The Prophet Muhammad spoke with words sharper than any sword. He said, "Whoever is blessed with daughters and treats them well, they will be a shield for him from the fire." The men who once feared daughters now longed for their protection. The men who once buried them alive now raised them with honor. Islam changed hearts, and slowly the cries of buried daughters faded, not because they were silenced in the sand, but because they were now safe in their homes. Imagine the transformation. The same father who once feared his daughter's birth now holds her in his arms with pride. The same society that once celebrated sons alone now celebrated daughters as a gift from Allah. The Quran declared, "To Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. He creates what he wills. He gives to whom he wills female children, and he gives to whom he wills males." So Surah Ash-Shura 4:2-4:9. Do you see the wisdom? The Quran placed daughters first, not second, not after, but first. An honor Arabia had never seen before. Every verse, every teaching was a blow to ignorance, but change was not easy. The people of Makkah resisted. Some laughed, some mocked. Some said, "Will Muhammad turn our world upside down? Will he make us honor daughters?" And the Prophet I answered with silence, for his answer was not in words alone, but in his life. Look at how he treated his own daughters. Fatima was the youngest and most beloved. Whenever she entered a room, the Prophet would stand. He would kiss her forehead. He would seat her in his place. In a land where fathers once buried daughters, he showed the world how a father should love, and his companions followed his example. Umar ibn al-Khattab was one of our. Before Islam, he too had once buried his daughter in ignorance. But after Islam, he would weep remembering it. He became one of the fiercest protectors of women. A man whose heart once hardened with pride was softened by faith. This was the power of Islam. This was the miracle of revelation. It turned killers into guardians. It turned shame into honor. It turned tears of pain into tears of mercy. The desert of Arabia, once soaked with silence, now echoed with laughter of daughters. And each smile was proof that the chains of ignorance had been broken. But the journey was not yet over. The people of Makkah still resisted Islam. They clung to their idols. They clung to their old ways. They feared the change Muhammad was bringing. And so the mission grew harder. The Prophet faced insults. He faced torture. He faced exile. But he never gave up, for he carried the command of Allah. And that command was clear: do not kill your children out of poverty. We provide for them and for you. Surely killing them is a great sin. Surah Al-Isra 17:31, no more killing, no more burying, no more fear of daughters. Their lives were sacred. Their honor was protected. And the mercy of Islam covered them like shade in the desert. The brutal tradition that had once darkened Arabia was now being buried itself. Not under sand, but under the truth of revelation. And soon, this truth would spread far beyond the sands of Arabia. It would travel across nations, across continents, across centuries, declaring forever that daughters are not a curse. They are a blessing. They are a mercy. They are a path to paradise. The sands of Arabia had witnessed countless buried daughters. But with the rise of Islam, the sands witnessed something greater. They witnessed justice. They witnessed mercy. They witnessed the end of a brutal tradition. No longer would a newborn girl cry beneath the earth. No longer would a father dig a grave for his own blood. No longer would innocence be crushed by ignorance. The Quran spoke, and the people listened. The Prophet lived, and the people changed. What once was pride turned to shame. What once was shame turned to pride. The practice of burying daughters alive vanished from the land of Arabia forever. And it was not through the sword. It was not through force. It was through words. It was through revelation. It was through the heart of the prophet A. He taught that a daughter was a key to paradise. He taught that raising her with kindness was worship. He taught that protecting her was honor. And those who once feared daughters now pray to be blessed with them. Imagine the transformation from digging graves to building homes filled with laughter, from covering cries with sand to kissing foreheads with love, from rejecting Allah's gift to cherishing it. This was not just change. This was a revolution of mercy, and it did not stop in Arabia. The message of Islam spread to lands far and wide: Persia, Rome, Africa, India. Everywhere Islam went, the honor of daughters followed. The world began to see women not as shame, but as blessings, not as weakness, but as strength, not as burden, but as mercy. The Prophet A said, "Whoever takes care of 2 daughters until they reach maturity, he and I will be together on the day of judgment like this." And he joined his fingers together. Can you feel the power of these words? A man once buried his daughter to escape shame. Now, a man could reach paradise through his daughter. What greater honor could there be? And yet, these lessons were not only for the Arabs of the past, they are for us today. Because ignorance still exists, not in the same way, but in different forms. Some people today do not bury daughters in the sand, but they bury them in neglect. They bury them in rejection. They bury them in words of hurt. They bury them in a world that denies their worth. Some families still wish for sons and see daughters as less, but Islam came to remind us that both are equal gifts from Allah, that both are honored, that both are sacred. Allah gives daughters to whom He wills, and He gives sons to whom He wills. But He begins with daughters first in His words, a reminder of their value, a reminder of their blessing. So, when a daughter is born, she is not a burden. She is a sign of Allah's mercy. She is a key to your paradise. She is a crown of honor on her father's head. And whoever rejects her rejects the gift of Allah. Whoever mistreats her mistreats the mercy of Allah. And whoever loves her loves what Allah loves. This is the legacy of Islam. This is the victory of mercy over cruelty. This is the revolution that buried the darkness forever. The Prophet A once said, "Do not hate daughters, for they are precious and comforting." He gave the world a new vision, a world where daughters live with honor, a world where fathers raise them with pride, a world where the cries of baby girls are cries of joy, not cries of fear. And so, the desert that once swallowed the innocent now gave birth to mercy. The graves of darkness were replaced with gardens of light. And the tradition of burying daughters alive was buried itself, buried under the truth of Islam, buried under the words of Allah, buried under the mercy of Muhammad Ave, never to rise again. And on the day of judgment, when the baby girls who were once buried alive are asked, "For what sin were you killed?" they will not answer with tears, they will answer with justice, for Allah is just, and He does not forget. The story of buried daughters is not just history. It is a reminder of what happens when humans abandon guidance, a reminder of what happens when culture blinds mercy, a reminder of what Islam came to end, and a reminder of what Islam came to begin: mercy, justice, equality, faith. So let the world know that Islam did not just change laws, it changed hearts. It did not just end cruelty, it brought compassion. It did not just stop the burying of daughters, it raised daughters to the status of queens of paradise. And today, when a Muslim father holds his daughter, he should remember this story. He should remember the cries buried in the sand. He should remember the mercy revealed from the sky. And he should whisper with gratitude, "Alhamdulillah for this blessing, because she is not a burden, she is not shame, she is not weakness. She is a blessing. She is honor, she is light, and she is a door to Jannah."